All right, I'm here with Craig Williams. Craig Williams is one of the technical managers at Solid State Controls AMETEK. Thank you for joining, Craig. I appreciate your time.
You are welcome.
I have the honor to be able to interview Craig. We had some preset questions, so I'll just start from the top if that works. So, first question, Craig, can you just describe your current role in your team and a little bit of your background?
Okay, I am the Senior Technical Manager for AMETEK Solid State Controls. I have 3 admin staff that I am the supervisor for. They work out of Columbus. I have 4 technical managers that I am the supervisor for. They work from home all around the country. And then we have 22 field service engineers who go out and work on equipment. So all in all, it's about 27 people I'm responsible for. My history is I've worked in this industry for over 25 years now, and started in the field and then worked through the field into training and now into management.
And this is the UPS backup power industry, correct?
Correct.
And it's oil and gas, correct?
Oil and gas, petrochemical, power generation, all heavy industrial side of things.
Right. Well, thank you. So I guess the first real substantive question is, what do you believe are the most important qualities of an effective leader?
Personally, I think it's listening to people, not making decisions based on what you think is the right thing to do. Aggregate information from everybody that you trust and everybody that you know have a better idea of boots on the ground type thing. You know, you can't be all seeing and all hearing. You have to take advice from other people. And so it's listening and trusting what other people have to do. And then you can take all that information together and then make a decision based on that.
Interesting. Well, thank you. The next question, what strategies do you use to help employees adapt to a new policy, a new technology, a change in structure within AMETEK?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And what I found works better than anything is involving people as early as possible in the process. So even when you're at the planning stages of implementing some form of change, get the people who are going to be affected by that change in the room, and ask them questions. And it tends to be quite a good conversation, and you get surprised about some of the suggestions that they come up with that you would never have thought of, and you wouldn't have even thought that that would have affected them. And by listening to what they have to say, then you can come up with a much more strategic plan on how to roll out that change in a way that doesn't disrupt everything as much as it could have if you just basically went in with a bulldozer and said, this is the way that you're going to do it, and I don't care what you have to say. I think involving people is very important.
That's interesting. Thank you for that. The next question, how do you ensure that every team member feels valued and heard, especially when morale is low or it's during a stressful time and or project?
I think you've got to, it's difficult because you don't want to involve yourself in everybody's personal life, and then people who you are the manager of are not your friends. Now they can become friends in a certain way, so you've got to figure out a fine balance of knowing enough about that person and their personal life that you can have a conversation with them where they think that, and you shouldn't be forcing it either. It's not that they think that you're having a one-on-one conversation and you're, once again, it comes down to listening, but letting them know that you know about their personal life, and that there is a situation, there is a morale situation, and frame the subject. I suppose it goes back to my first 2 answers. It's frame it in such a way where you really want to hear what they have to say, how they think they can improve morale, how they can improve things, because it's always very difficult when you have edicts that come down from the top and flow down to the bottom, and that's the way things tend to flow. But if you have the conversations with people and make them a part of a team, then they can truly come up with good ideas on how to fix a morale problem. And then obviously you've got to go and take that information, and you can't. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is it's great having these conversations with people and then saying, okay, we'll speak to you again in 12 months, like part of an annual review. If you don't take that information and implement it, then it's useless. A great example of this is we do an annual field service training. And what I do is I take a big whiteboard out and I write down everybody's issues and concerns. And it could be morale, it could be how they're being treated by the business. And every year I have that piece of that whiteboard out. And the previous year I will have, okay, here's what we discussed. And here's all the things that we fixed because of the things that you discussed. So I let them know, okay, it's not just you say something and we forget about it. Last year we said this, we fixed it. So this year they're much more likely to give us even more suggestions on how to fix things.
Good point. It's interesting. I appreciate that insight. Next question. How do you handle situations where you don't have all the information that you would like to have or need, but you are forced to make a decision for the business? How would you handle that?
It's a good decision. So it's a good question. Sorry, it goes back to hiring the correct people. So like I have 3 managers that are below me, and those people are actually 4 now. So I trust those people with decisions that they make on a daily basis. So if there is a situation where I'm getting something passed down to me from below and from above, sorry, I would probably arrange a meeting with the people that I trust most and get some information together, say, okay, here is what we have to do. Can you come up with suggestions on how we do this best? I'm just such a believer in collaboration rather than dictating things to people. I think if you gather enough information, then you can always make a better decision than just using your brain and what you've taken over time as what you think is the right way to do things.
Interesting. No, I appreciate that insight. We have time for another question, so I'm going to ask you the next question. How do you balance achieving organizational goals versus your individual goals? And do they go in tandem, or do you find times where they conflict each other?
That's a good question. I think what I would do and what I do is, I would probably start with some kind of flow chart and say, okay, here's the organization goals. And I would create a flow chart that has the organization goals, and then feed all of the personal goals that I would give to my team downwards, and then work it out and say, okay, this is what I think this goal would do and how it affects the corporation's goals, and see if they match. There's no point in giving people goals that don't match with what the corporation's goals are, and vice versa. They have to be intertwined. So it's work from the top and go down, but I think it's important to then work backwards and make sure that the goals that have been stated do actually affect what you're trying to do at the top level.
That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. One more question, quick one. Can you share an example of how you've handled a conflict between a team member or one of your managers that report to you?
That is a good question, and yeah, obviously you have to follow the policies and procedures that are in the corporation, and you've got to look at it objectively, but not with any personal attachment to the situation. You have to get both sides of the story. You have to try and work with them at a human level. Interview them separately, try and figure out what the root cause of the issue is. And once again, do a lot of listening. Don't steamroll your way through any of these interviews and think, well, have a preconceived idea. Person A did this and person B reacted in a certain way. There could be some history. There could be many things going on in the background. So you have to listen carefully separately. And then once you come up with a good understanding of what's going on, I always think, we're all adults. The best way to figure out any situation is then to get the two people into the same room. Always bring somebody else in with you to act as a neutral person, and try and figure it out. Let them know that it is important enough that the HR is being involved, and everything is getting done through the HR network. But let them know that we want to resolve this. We want to make sure that both people come out of the situation thinking that there has been a resolution. And if somebody is wrong, you have to be upfront and say, that this was wrong. Maybe give them some disciplinary action. But once again, it's not make a decision up in your mind prior to having these discussions. Be open, listen, and figure out what the situation might be before you make a decision.
I appreciate the insight. I appreciate your time today, Craig. It was great talking to you as always. And thank you very much for spending your Friday afternoon with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.